All right, so get this. Today we're diving into a Christmas-themed math workbook
Okay.
that uses an abacus to teach kids aged 3 to 6.
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You're probably thinking, Christmas, math, an abacus?
Yeah.
What kind of festive sorcery is this?
It's definitely an interesting combination.
It is.
But what's fascinating is that it taps into that excitement of Christmas
Right.
to make learning math a joyful experience.
Yeah, you've got a point there. Christmas IS, a time when kids are already, primed for learning
Yeah.
and discovery.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's unpack this Christmas math workbook: counting, tracing, cutting and pasting, adding and subtracting on the abacus from 0 to 20.
Okay.
But first, I gotta ask,
Yeah.
do kids today even know what an abacus is?
That's a good question.
Like, is it just
Yeah.
some ancient artifact to them?
I think for a lot of kids, it probably is.
Yeah.
But that's where this workbook cleverly starts.
Okay.
It dedicates a whole section to actually introducing the abacus. Yeah, defining it simply as a tool for counting and calculating.
Mm-hmm.
It even breaks down the parts: the frame, the beam, the top bead, the bottom beads.
Oh, wow. So it's like
Yeah,
Abacus 101.
it really is.
Nice.
And there's even a QR code
Ooh.
to a video demo just in case anyone needs a visual refresher.
Talk about bringing an ancient tool into the digital age.
I know, right? It's a nice blend of old and new.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Okay, so we've got our abacus primer.
yeah.
Now, how does the workbook actually use it to teach counting?
Well, it uses these handy visual guides called big brain notes
Okay.
to explain how numbers from 0 to 4 are represented.
Mm-hmm.
The key here is this idea of beads touching the beam
Right.
to represent a value.
Okay.
So to show the number 1, you push up one bottom bead to touch the beam,
Got it.
2 beads for 2, and so on.
So it's all about which beads are touching the beam.
Exactly. It's a
Ah.
very visual approach.
Yeah, I'm starting to see how this could be visually engaging.
Yeah.
For kids.
It's like a tactile puzzle,
Yeah.
figuring out which beads to move to make the numbers.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then what about numbers beyond 4?
Well, each number, from 0 all the way to 20,
Yeah.
gets its own page with an illustration, the abacus representation,
Okay.
and tracing activities.
So they're really hitting all the different learning styles here.
They really are.
Visual, kinesthetic, all that.
Mm.
Okay, cool.
For instance, for the number 0,
Okay.
there's a mitten illustration,
Cute.
an abacus, showing no beads touching the beam space to trace the number 0,
Right.
and even a 10-frame grid for placing dough balls.
Dough balls, you say?
Yes.
This is starting to sound like a Christmas baking activity.
Uh.
And a math lesson rolled into one.
Exactly.
Tell me more about these activities.
Well, beyond just the abacus representation,
Yeah.
the workbook has a variety of activities to reinforce number recognition and counting.
Okay.
There's one where kids search for hidden abacus images within a Christmas scene.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's like a festive Where's Waldo,
Yeah.
but with a math twist.
I bet kids would love that.
I think so.
So they've got counting covered.
Mm-hmm.
How does the workbook tackle addition and subtraction using the abacus?
That's where things get particularly interesting.
Okay.
It uses the physical manipulation of the beads
Got it.
to introduce these concepts.
So it's not just about seeing the numbers on the abacus. It's about actually using it to perform operations.
Precisely.
I like.
For adding 1, they use the instruction thumb up,
Okay.
where the child pushes up one bead with their thumb. Yeah. For subtracting 1, it's finger down,
Mm-hmm.
pushing one bead away from the beam.
That's a really intuitive way to connect that physical action
Yeah.
to the mathematical operation.
Exactly.
I like it.
And it builds from there.
Okay.
The workbook introduces +2 adding, -2 subtracting, and so on,
Okay.
progressively increasing the complexity all the way to +8 and -9.
Wow. So they're covering a lot of ground just with those simple bead movements.
They really are.
Okay, now I have a question.
Yeah.
How do they represent numbers bigger than 4?
Good question.
Because so far, we've only been using those bottom beads.
Right?
Does the top bead finally come into play?
It absolutely does.
Okay, good.
When they get to the number 5,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the top bead makes its grand entrance.
All right, so 5 is like the
Yeah.
turning point.
Exactly.
Okay.
You push it down to touch the beam,
Got it.
and then for 6, you keep the top bead down and add one bottom bead, and so on.
So it's a combination of the top and bottom beads working together to represent those larger numbers.
Yeah.
That makes
It's
sense.
a clever system.
Yeah, I like how visually clear it is.
Yeah.
And this naturally leads into place value, right?
It's
Which is essential for understanding numbers beyond 9.
Absolutely.
Do the big brain notes come back for that?
They do. They introduce the idea of place value for numbers 10 through 12.
Now, how do they use the abacus to teach that?
Well, they cleverly use the two columns on the abacus.
Right, right.
The left column for the tens place
Okay.
and the right column for the ones place.
So it's visually separating them out.
Exactly.
That's good.
So to show the number 10, one bead in the tens column touches the beam,
Okay.
and no beads touch the beam in the ones column.
So it's a really clear visual representation of 110 and 0 ones.
It is.
It's amazing how something as abstract as place value can suddenly become so tangible with the abacus.
It really is.
I'm starting to see why this ancient tool is still so relevant for teaching math today.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they're starting to get into some more kind of complicated concepts here.
Right.
What else does the workbook do with this?
Well, from there, the workbook continues with a whole range of progressively challenging activities.
Like what? Give me some examples of these advanced activities.
Well, there's matching abacus representations to number words.
Okay.
Like 5, 6, and 7. They also have a count backwards activity,
Oh, fun.
where kids trace dotted lines from 11 to 0,
Okay.
which is great for developing number sense.
Counting backwards is always a good brain workout.
It is. It is.
Ah.
Oh, there's plenty more.
Yeah.
Matching stars to Christmas trees with different numbers on the abacus.
Okay.
Matching numbered bells with pictures of winter items.
Nice.
Solving puzzles by answering abacus questions.
Wow. This workbook is jam-packed
No,
with
it-
activities.
This is very comprehensive.
You know what? I came into this deep dive feeling a bit skeptical, but
Yeah.
now I'm actually quite impressed.
I know, right?
Like, who would have thought
Would have thought.
a Christmas-themed abacus workbook
Mm-hmm.
could be this engaging?
It's a pleasant surprise.
It really does seem like a clever way to introduce young children to those foundational math concepts.
It's all wrapped up in a festive package.
It is. I love it.
It's a great way to make learning fun.
Speaking of fun,
Yeah.
before we move on to part 2,
Okay.
I want to pose a question to you, dear listener.
Okay.
We've been focusing on a traditional abacus here,
Yeah.
but I'm curious, how could digital versions of these activities further enhance learning for young children?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Something to ponder as we continue our deep dive.
Definitely.
All right, we'll be back in a moment for part 2.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question to think about.
It is.
Digital abacus activities could offer so many possibilities.
Yeah, like what? What are you thinking?
Well, a traditional abacus, it's limited, right?
Right.
But with digital, you could have interactive animations,
Oh, for sure.
sound effects.
Kids love that.
Yeah, maybe even little virtual rewards for solving problems correctly.
Ooh, yeah, like little badges or something.
Exactly. Gamification,
Gamification.
It could be really powerful when it comes to learning.
Oh, absolutely.
And not to mention, with a digital abacus,
Yeah.
you could track a child's progress more easily.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, and even personalize the learning experience.
Right, based on their strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Think about this.
Yeah.
You could even introduce more complex abacus techniques
Oh, okay.
that might be tricky to demonstrate physically.
Oh, like what?
Well, what if there was a digital abacus where kids could explore different base systems,
Okay.
like binary or hexadecimal?
Whoa, that's getting pretty advanced.
It is. It is.
You don't like
It would definitely go way beyond the scope of this workbook,
Right.
but it really highlights the potential of taking this ancient tool into the digital age.
Yeah, you're right.
The fundamental principles of the abacus, they remain the same,
Mm-hmm.
but digital platforms offer a level of flexibility and
Right.
interactivity that can truly amplify its educational value.
Well said, well said.
So yeah, lots of possibilities there.
Okay, let's get back to the workbook itself.
Okay, sure.
One thing that impressed me was how seamlessly it blended all those different skills.
Like what?
Counting, tracing, number recognition,
Yeah.
and even early addition and subtraction.
It's a very well-rounded approach for sure.
It is.
Building a solid foundation for those core math skills.
It's like they snuck in a whole preschool math curriculum
Yeah.
under the guise of Christmas fun.
I like that. That's a great way to put it.
And by connecting it to the festive season,
Yeah,
they're creating positive associations with learning.
absolutely.
So instead of math feeling like a chore,
Right.
it becomes part of the holiday excitement.
Exactly, which is key for young learners.
Oh, yeah.
At that age, motivation and engagement are everything.
Absolutely.
If they're not engaged, they're not going to learn.
They're not going to learn.
So yeah, I think they did a good job with that.
Yeah, speaking of engagement,
Yeah.
let's talk about some of the specific activities that stood out to us.
Okay. Which ones did you like?
Well, one that immediately caught my eye was the Find the Abacus activity.
Oh, yeah. That one's fun. Where kids have to search for abacus images hidden within a Christmas scene.
Right, with the snowman, presents, candy canes, all that.
Exactly.
It's cute.
It's like a festive scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
That trains those visual discrimination skills.
Yeah.
While also reinforcing what an abacus looks like.
Exactly. It's those little details that make the learning stick.
They do.
By embedding the abacus within a familiar and engaging context,
Right.
it just becomes more memorable for the child.
Yeah, I agree.
Another activity that I thought was quite clever was the one where kids match bells with different numbers of winter items.
Oh, yeah, with the candy canes and cookies and ice cream cones.
Exactly.
I like that one.
It's a great way to connect concrete quantities
Yeah,
to numerical representations.
it is. It is.
And the abacus provides that visual bridge between the two.
Yeah, it's like the middleman.
Exactly.
Connecting those real-world objects to the numbers.
It helps kids make those connections between the real world.
The symbolic world of numbers
Right.
and the concrete manipulation of the abacus beads.
I like how you put that.
It's all connected.
It is. It is.
And we can't forget about the tracing activities,
Oh, yes, the tracing.
which are so important for developing fine motor skills and hand-eye coordination.
You're absolutely right.
All those activities help build those essential pre-writing skills.
While also reinforcing number recognition and counting.
Exactly.
It's a win-win.
It is.
Now, I have to admit, I was particularly charmed by the color by number activity.
Oh, with the Santa hat.
Yes, the Santa hat.
That one's adorable.
It's a classic activity with a festive twist.
It is.
And by associating colors with the numbers represented on the abacus,
Yeah.
it becomes another opportunity for multisensory learning.
I can just imagine a little one excitedly coloring in that hat,
You know, right?
solidifying their understanding of those early numbers in the process.
And hopefully developing a love for math at the same time.
That's the dream, right?
That's the dream.
Now, one activity that really highlights the power of the abacus for teaching addition and subtraction is the connect the dots activity.
Oh, yeah, that's the one where kids have to solve a series of abacus-based equations to reveal the final picture.
Exactly, like a mini abacus boot camp.
I like that.
Testing their understanding of addition, subtraction, and number representation all in one.
It's a good challenge.
It is, and by incorporating that connect the dots element,
Yeah.
they're adding an element of suspense and discovery.
Oh, for sure. Kids love that.
Kids love seeing that picture emerge as they solve the problems.
It's a great motivator.
It is. It is.
You know, this deep dive has really opened my eyes to the abacus.
Yeah.
I always thought of it as, I don't know, kind of an outdated tool,
Yeah, I can see that.
but it's clearly still relevant
Oh, absolutely.
and effective for teaching math concepts.
Especially young learners.
Yeah, especially to young learners.
It's amazing how the abacus bridges the gap between concrete and abstract.
Right, because they can actually touch it and move the beads.
Exactly. It allows kids to physically manipulate objects to represent numerical values, which makes those abstract concepts more tangible.
And in a world increasingly dominated by digital screens,
Yes.
it's refreshing to see a workbook that encourages hands-on learning.
It is. It's a good reminder that tactile experiences are still crucial for child development.
I agree.
You know, we're so focused on screens these days.
We are.
But we can't forget about the importance of those hands-on experiences.
Absolutely.
Especially for kids.
And by incorporating a beloved holiday theme,
Yeah,
this workbook makes learning math feel like a festive adventure.
it does. It's proof that education can be both effective and engaging.
Well said.
I think it's a really nice example of how to make learning fun.
Before we wrap up this part of the deep dive,
Okay.
let's take a moment to appreciate the thoughtfulness and creativity that went into designing this workbook.
I agree. The author clearly understands how young children learn best, combining visual, kinesthetic, and even artistic elements to create a truly holistic learning experience.
And by seamlessly blending math with the magic of Christmas,
Yeah.
they've managed to create a workbook that's both educational and delightful.
It's a reminder that learning can be fun,
Yes.
especially when it's infused with the spirit of the holidays.
Well said. Now, as we move into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
let's shift gears and explore the potential impact of this workbook
All right.
on a child's mathematical journey.
A fascinating topic indeed.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive.
Yeah.
We've explored how this workbook introduces kids to the abacus, counting, even addition and subtraction.
Yeah.
Now, let's think bigger picture here.
Okay.
What kind of lasting impact could this workbook have on a child's whole mathematical journey?
It's an interesting question for sure.
It is.
I think one of the most significant potential benefits is a more positive attitude toward math.
That makes sense, because if your first experiences with math are fun and engaging instead of intimidating, it could, set the stage for a more positive relationship with the subject later on.
Yeah, instead of math being a chore, this workbook links it to the excitement and joy of Christmas.
Right, so it's like a positive association there.
It could spark a genuine curiosity and enthusiasm for numbers.
And that's half the battle, right?
It really is.
Like if a child enjoys math, they're more likely to, persevere through those challenges that inevitably come up.
Absolutely. It's not just about avoiding math anxiety.
Right.
It's about nurturing a love of learning in that area.
It is. It is. Okay, so we've got attitude. But beyond just attitude, what about problem-solving skills?
That's another area where this workbook could have a real impact.
How so?
Well, the abacus itself is a fantastic tool for encouraging logical thinking and strategic planning. When kids are figuring out how to represent numbers on the abacus or how to add and subtract using the beads, they're exercising those problem-solving muscles without even realizing it.
It's like a sneaky little workout.
It is.
For their brain.
Yeah.
So they're learning to break down problems into smaller steps.
Exactly. And those skills are going to be useful way beyond math class.
Oh, absolutely. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
Solving a puzzle, writing a story, even building something.
It all requires those same problem-solving abilities.
It does. It does.
So, yeah, this workbook could be laying the groundwork for a lifetime of critical thinking.
That's pretty impressive for a Christmas-themed workbook.
I know, right?
Okay, so we've got attitude, we've got problem solving. What about their actual understanding of numerical concepts?
This is where the abacus really shines, I think.
Okay.
It has this incredible ability to make those abstract mathematical ideas concrete and visual.
Like how it shows place values so clearly.
Exactly.
With the tens and ones columns.
Yeah, and even the physical act of moving the beads.
Right.
That helps children grasp the concept of adding and subtracting in a tangible way.
Right, so it's not just memorization.
No, they're developing a genuine understanding of how numbers work.
Yeah, they're internalizing it.
Exactly.
And that's essential for, higher level math later on.
Absolutely. Algebra, calculus.
Right.
Even more abstract areas of math.
Right.
They all build on those foundational concepts that this workbook introduces.
It's amazing to think that, this Christmas abacus workbook could be setting them up for success.
It could be.
Down the road.
Yeah, planting those seeds for future mathematical fluency and confidence.
Confidence, that's key.
It is. It is.
It really makes you appreciate the power of a simple tool like the abacus.
It does.
I mean, it's not just a relic of the past.
No, it's clearly still relevant and effective for teaching these concepts.
Especially to young learners.
Especially to young learners.
Yeah, in a world that's, increasingly dominated by screens.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to see something that encourages this kind of hands-on learning.
It is. It's a good reminder that tactile experiences are still crucial for a child's development.
Absolutely.
We're so focused on the digital.
We are.
But those hands-on experiences are so important.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And, by incorporating that holiday theme, this workbook just makes learning math feel like a festive adventure.
It does. It's a great example of how education can be both effective and delightful.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And a great way to end this deep dive.
I agree.
So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we hope you found this, insightful.
Yeah.
And maybe even a little bit inspiring.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll see you next time.